Welcome to Game of Roses. This is Pacecase.
This is Bachelor Clues, and we're about to do a little breakdown of that Love is Blind Season 7 reunion that we all watched last night. Where to begin, Pacecase? Where to begin? I think we should begin in this place. First of all, it's very important to know that these reunions are shot about a year after the show ends shooting. So most of the emotions, feelings, thoughts that these players have about the immediate outcomes of various relationships, various circumstances that occur over the course of that season, they've had a year of distance from them to seek therapy, to think about these things, to bury hatchets. And so all of the Love is Blind reunions, for the most part, are completely
To
boring.
script their responses to everything.
That as well. And some players are giving advanced warning, like Tyler, that we might have to ask you a question about these kids, but rest assured, we will let you get off the hook very easily without going into the details. So let's get into this Pacecase. Overall thoughts about the reunion.
Overall thoughts was kind of about how I feel about all Love is Blind reunions because of that shooting schedule and shooting the reunion way after. The tea is stale. Alex and Tim.
They had a decent fight-ish.
The U-Dog couple.
Yeah, but like no real light was shed on any of that. It got lost in the weeds, I felt like, of the details of like, well, we were there at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then from 4 p.m. to 4:25 p.m. I decided to take a nap because I had to be at work at 6:47 p.m. that night. I then returned to the apartment at 3:42 a.m. and I was just like, oh Jesus, what's going on? They're talking about like their schedules didn't work out, and so that's why he felt that she disrespected his parent. And it was just like, what? I don't know. To me, that fell flat. Even though that was kind of the most heated of the arguments, it didn't hold much water for me.
I did like kind of illuminating a little bit more about their fight. Like that, first of all, what she called him, I was wondering. It was a B word. And I also was hoping to get a U-Dog.
Yep.
We got that. And I did like when Tim was talking about, like, they were talking about the edit a little bit about like, you know, I'm a 6'5" black man. Like there's certain things about like how you want to come across on TV and stuff like that. I thought that was super interesting.
No, I did too.
Of both of them and her being like, I was trying to protect you.
For sure. And I love when they get into that component of this, which Love is Blind actually lets them go there, talking about how the players are aware of their edit, aware of how they're going to come across to an audience, the fourth audience, us, at home watching it. That said, they also can reverse that attitude and take an attitude of moral superiority, like with Nick, when it is revealed by Hannah that she came across his notebook that said he wanted to be famous from going on this show, and he gets reprimanded by everyone on that stage basically for this, that's a for the wrong reasons kind of play style, that he's a villain because of it. And the truth is, they're all there to get famous. Yes, some of them find love.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the main takeaways, was that, you know, the roasting of Nick for being 4TWR, when it's like the grenade conversation where it was like, did you call her a grenade? And then Marissa kind of guilts Ramses into somewhat confirming this. And yeah, still acknowledging that like Hannah could have, you know, acted better towards him as well.
I think
it's interesting. They get more into the nuances than Bachelor.
I do think the grenade conversation for me was separate from the I came here to get famous conversation. Obviously, if they're calling each other names or saying mean stuff to each other, that kind of seemed like who was the meanest is what was being prosecuted there on stage before our eyes. Yes, Hannah admitted she was mean.
Well, I would say calling her a grenade is 4TWR.
Well, I don't know if that's 4TWR. It's just that he didn't like her. It's like he's lying about that and trying to come across as like the puppy dog play style, when the reality was, at least what they were trying to exemplify on stage there, was like he was saying mean shit too. That's basically what that angle was. Hannah acknowledged, yes, I could have said things nicer, I was being a little bit mean, but he said mean shit too and used the grenade. The 90 days, or I'm going to be famous from going on this show, and he claims that he wrote that 90 days before ever even knowing he was going to be on the show.
Love
that
that.
to me every time they do that on these reunions, falls flat. They are all there to get famous, period, end of story. Do some of them fall in love as well?
And did he? What are
No
his
one
numbers?
really got famous. The biggest player off of this was Taylor, who has, let me see real quick. I believe she's at 260 something as of right now. She's at 285.
No,
285K.
dang. I wonder if there's fewer people watching the show, or there's just people are following fewer people.
Well,
from
it's just
the show.
the A couple wasn't interesting. Generally speaking, in all seasons of Love is Blind, your A couple, the one that you're rooting for to wind up together, they have the most followers of anybody. And I think this season, the A couple was just like, we're talking about Taylor and Garrett, pretty uninteresting, pretty bland. And so these are the biggest gains you're going to see. Nick, by the way, I just looked at this.
But she's
Yeah,
got
she
the
has
most,
the most
right?
of anybody. Nick
Taylor?
has 85.6K. So he put on a little bit of weight over the course of the season.
I loved their costume play. Loved this couple's looks. He's wearing some sort of suit with the long hair. She's got that gold bodice
it's like
thing.
body armor. I thought
like
it was cool
a
too.
statue. So cool.
But the idea that Nick came there to get famous and they were trying to use that against him because he wrote it on a piece of paper. I can guarantee you every one of those players who is sitting on that stage thought at one point in this process, I might get 1 million Instagram followers. They all thought it. And so to call one player out and be like, I saw that you wanted to get famous from this. It's like, delete your Instagrams then. Delete your Instagram. If you don't want fame from this, all you have to do is
That's
not
the
take it.
move. It's so easy to call to say that, and I wonder if they would edit that out of the show if you said all of you delete your Instagrams if you're not interested in fame. Like, I would just have a list ready of like, well, you did this spawn con, like you knew these, you would have these types of opportunities going on.
Yeah, of course. I just think that to me, in a modern age, in the year 2024, when social media is a legitimate career, it is a legitimate job that very often goes hand in hand with reality TV stardom, you cannot use that as a valid attack against somebody's character. In my opinion, they're going to try to do it every season on Love is Blind because that's primarily the function of the two Dark Lords, Nick and Vanessa Lachey. When they wheel them out there, they are the arbiters of...
Wheel them. They are sprightly.
They are the arbiters of moral correctness in the Love is Blind universe. And so, like you're saying,
I mean, that is true.
what we saw with Tyler Francis and Ashley Donser, they're together, they're a married couple, and they want to be able to hold up at least 2 married couples, as many of those kind of, in quote, success stories as they can have. So they let him skate. They have told him beforehand, we're going to have to address this thing about your 3 kids. They shot this a few days before Bree Thomas put out all of the Instagram reels that we now know, where she essentially laid out the entire story of how he was the father of all 3 of these children and was active in their lives up until the day he left for shooting. So he never had to answer for any of that. And the show basically let him get away with saying, like,
yeah, I kind of predicted that it would just be like, I'm a dad, I'm trying to protect the kids, this was the way to do this, like, and for that couple to still be together, you know.
Yeah.
I did not think they would still
nor
be
did
together.
I. But they let him get away with saying, I don't owe anybody an explanation except her. And it's like, but you did go on a reality show where we're all expecting to know every detail of this relationship. I don't think that excuse, I owe nothing to anyone except her, I know that's a very for the right reasons play, but I don't think it flies in a modern reality television setting. They, in fact...
Well, where's the line? It's very Hunger Gamesy, and it's like they own you forever. Look at Zach and Bliss. Now they're bringing the baby back, and they gotta keep coming back to get the check. You know, it's gonna be
there's
permanent.
a hypocrisy in it.
We're gonna see that
if
kid
you're
grow up.
a chosen player like Tyler Francis is, because he's in a couple that they want to present as successful, you don't have to say everything, even though it's a reality TV show. If you're Steven, who they want to drag over the coals and really hold up as an example of, like, we are going to fucking destroy this guy, it's actively said
We saw the sleep study picture.
Yeah. They showed the sleep
that.
study picture. It's actively said, I believe by Monica, the woman that he was engaged to, when he states, I don't want to go into the details of the text messages. I believe it was Monica who said, you went on a reality show. You have to, basically. But that same argument can't be applied to Tyler Francis, who is a protected player. There is, in my mind, these reunions really show that hypocrisy, the double standard that exists between which players are tapped by the show to be their hero players and which ones are going to be the villains that we can all actively attack. It's crystal clear in these reunion shows. And I don't know if this is true or not, but it feels true to me. I think the audience is getting smarter, and I think this shit won't fly much longer in any reality TV show, let alone the Love is Blind universe. And I actually thought Steven did a pretty good job of deflection.
I don't know. I mean, they do it every season.
But it's getting old. It's like you're saying, their Instagram follower counts aren't as high. People are just kind of like, whatever. The general sentiment of this season, I think, has been kind of like, whatever. The casting is bad because of these guys with secrets, and these guys are dickheads and saying all this bad shit. It's just not well done, unfortunately. It was in large part boring.
Yeah. The Tyler thing also shows you the power of a package deal.
Yeah.
Like it just protects you in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Because you can say the kids, they shouldn't be involved in this. They never asked to be involved in this. And then, like, as much as that is true, you also have Bree Thomas putting out videos on Instagram contradicting the edit, trying to correct the errors that the show is making, not letting Tyler get away with this stuff. So it's like they may not have asked for it, but you put them in it.
Like, so if they feel some type of way about it, like,
and there's this idea that, like,
it's clearly something,
you know, you can go into a show like this and keep some part of your personal life secret. You can't. That's part of, like, the bargain you make for reality TV fame, is your entire life is going to be scrutinized, dug through, examined by the fans of the show. That's just how it goes, you know? So I think to have the belief,
you got to delete your Facebook before you film.
Exactly, not after, like Tyler did.
We've all learned our lessons this season.
Let me ask you this. What did you think of Brittany and Leo being brought back out on stage? Did it do anything for you?
Look, it was one of the things I was most excited for and disappointed by, I would say. I love that they gave him time. I love that they kind of did this forgiveness edit. I loved the weird detail about the sipping the drink, but I wanted more. I wanted more of that Miami footage, and maybe they're just withholding it from the show. They're like, we'll see who gets more views on this.
Yeah, I mean, that was another thing that
we'll put it out on our own social media.
I completely agree. And that was another thing that was part of this reunion, was like they kept showing us these pictures and little videos of like the guys' fishing trip and girls' night out and all the shit. And I was just like, why are you? It was an hour and a half. Didn't need to be. Could have been 60 minutes. They kept showing these things that were essentially just like Instagram reels. It's like, we're all following all these people on Instagram. We get it. We've seen this shit.
You did keep saying that.
Yeah.
I have Instagram too. Clues in his corner kept saying that. And I was like, that is so funny, because I think probably most people haven't seen those photos. They're not following all of them, obviously.
I guess, but it's just like, it's amateur hour.
I only
like,
really liked the Taylor and Garrett one. They're a little real.
Even that to me is like, they're just kind of a boring couple. I don't, like, you've got this, I guess, an unlimited amount of time to tell this reunion story. Like,
ooh.
What?
No, I thought of my favorite thing from the show, that they showed the Minneapolis trio in the audience at the end. Well. I love that. I don't think we've ever seen that. A preview of the next season.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. I thought it was the only smart move they did. I thought all of the, panning out to like the old cast members and what are you up to now? No. What? Who cares? What are we doing here? It's an hour and a half. I watched it on 2x speed and it was still too damn long. They need to like really, I think, concisely wrap up the stories and answer the questions that we have from the cast of the season we just watched. And I get celebrating your old cast and stuff. They've done it better in other reunions, I thought. This one was just kind of like lackluster. I know Vanessa Lachey needs to get her hands on the first Love is Blind baby. So I guess maybe that was an obligation, but
the stuff towards the baby and the other kid, I was just like, this is weird. Like watching them like play with the little kids. I totally
agree. And I thought that they did a very bad job of essentially everything they set out to do. Like you were saying earlier, my biggest surprise moment was between Tim and Alex, that they still had enough animosity to put up a good fight. I was pretty astounded by that. But even that, again, lost in the weeds and the details of like, what are they even fighting about? I don't get it. The Marissa and Ramsey's kind of final confrontation.
Yeah, it's confusing.
It was confusing and just like, I don't care. Because also that was like a...
Ramses apologized about the condom. What other big things did we have happen?
Well, we got Marissa's mom actually thanking him.
I was glad we got to see that mom again.
Yeah.
She was great.
We got her thanking Ramses basically for, you know, dissolving the relationship because she ultimately wouldn't have want her daughter to wind up with him. We got the attempted crucifixion of Stephen, which just fell flat because he defended it very well. He was like, no, this is what happened and sorry for that and whatever, fuck off. And you, again, when you have a year to formulate what is going to happen to you on that stage, how you're going to react to it and what you're going to say, you walk out there completely prepared. And so nothing is bad is going to happen to these people at this point, unless they already had him on the next season of Perfect Match, then he's obligated to do the dance, but they don't. So he's not.
You don't see anyone like revealing the receipts at this. You know, there's not targeted attacks. But
yeah,
there
I
could
agree.
Be.
I thought it was a very weak reunion overall. That's kind of my final thought on this. We got no real answers about the things that we wanted. The biggest thing that needed to be answered for was Tyler Francis and the lies he told about his children. We got none of that. He was allowed to skate. The Stephen thing, he defended it accurately, I thought, and we did not get the crucifixion of Stephen. All of the other relationships were kind of like whatever. And your A couple, the one who's supposed to be carrying the whole season, got in about a minute and a half of screen time, said basically nothing other than like, things are going well. Oh, big surprise. We might be moving back to DC instead of staying in San Diego. That was the big news.
DC. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just very boring.
Give us a pregnancy. Vanessa Lachey is just like pissed.
Yeah. I thought it was very boring. So far, one of the worst reunions I think that we have ever seen. And I'm hopeful for next season. Love is Blind season 8 USA,
Me
which
too.
is going to be.
Luckily, like I've seen bad Love is Blind seasons and then good ones have come after them. So it's kind of like, can't wait for Minneapolis.
And we don't have long to wait.
My most anticipated Love is Blind season.
Yeah, we'll see that on February 14th.
January.
February 14th.
February 14th.
Yeah. That'll be coming right in the middle of Grant Ellis's Bachelor season 29. We will be covering all of it, of course, on Game of Roses, and you can watch along.
Will that affect the ratings?
Will Love is Blind affect the ratings of
Praise be. No.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Grant season.
I don't think it will, because they air on different nights. But we will be covering all of it, and you can check out my specific coverage of every episode of Love is Blind of all the most recent seasons, but obviously of that season 8 coming up in February on patreon.com/Game of Roses.
Praise be Dark Lords Lachey.